Good afternoon, guys. How you guys doing? Hope it's going well. We're still in the midst of the holidays here. Hope you guys are having good holidays. We're still waiting on New Year. We're almost to the end of the year, almost to the end of this season. Gonna find out if the Seahawks have any life, if these Seahawks have any life left in them. We've got some news. We've got some news today. Two bits of news that are unrelated directly, but they're both germane to the interest of the Seattle Seahawks and their fans. So we're going to talk about both items in this video, mostly focused on this one because this one's more direct and this one has a more obvious effect. So after missing him for a few weeks there, after thinking that maybe his season was done, the Jets are getting QB1 back. The Jets are getting Mike White back for this game on Sunday against the Seahawks in Seattle. Mike White was cleared by the doctors today. This was several hours ago. I didn't have a chance to address it until now. But Mike White has been cleared by the doctors, and it looks like he's going to be playing on Sunday. He is expected to start. So the Jets, after a couple weeks of muddling through with complete incompetence at quarterback, now have a little bit of competence. So Mike White, I'm not going to act like he's Pat Mahomes or Josh Allen or any of those guys, but you look at Mike White, what he's done so far this year for the Jets. Real nice game against the Bears in Week 12. Real nice completion percentage, almost 80% completion, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. Against the Vikings, I'm not going to say he played great because the team lost and he did turn the ball over a couple times. But we are still talking about a 370-yard game. We're talking about a game where the team was able to put up 22 points and at least make it close. That's respectable. That's, at the very least, giving your team a little bit of a chance to win. And then even against the almighty Buffalo Bills. Not a great game, but 61% completion, 270 yards. That's a respectable game. That looks like a real NFL game. That looks like a real NFL quarterback. So the Jets are getting their real NFL quarterback back. And that has to change the outlook on this upcoming Seahawks-Jets game. And, I mean, Vegas agrees. The Seahawks were favored by 1.5 before this news. Mike White being named as the starter has flipped things 4 full points to 2.5 points favored for the Jets. So basically, they think that Mike White over Zach Wilson or Chris Streveler is worth 4 points. That is a lot of points for a guy who is far from a good quarterback in this league, but it indicates just how competent the dude has been. So instead of getting Chris Streveler, who has no arm, or Zach Wilson, who has no brain, or Joe Flacco, who is 800 years old, we're getting the one quarterback on the Jets roster who has actually looked mostly competent this year. So that changes things. I will acknowledge that. I was going into this week fully expecting the Seahawks to find a way to win that game, if for no other reason than we were going to be playing a completely incompetent quarterback. But honestly, now, is Mike White any worse than Sam Darnold or Brock Purdy? Probably not. Now, I know circumstances are different. The Jets offense doesn't do nearly as much to support those quarterbacks, to support their quarterbacks, as the Niners or even right now the Panthers are doing for their quarterbacks. But at the very least, you know Mike White is not going to single-handedly blow the game the way Zach Wilson was blowing games, the way Chris Streveler probably would have blown games. So I still say I'm going to stand by what I said before. Pete Carroll, one of the most experienced coaches in the league, a future Hall of Famer, somebody who is considered by his defenders to be a really good head coach. The team is reeling right now. We are 1-5 in our last 6. We've lost 3 in a row. Pete Carroll, this is the time to earn your money. This is the time to prove that you are better than the coaches who don't know how to right the ship. There are coaches out there who are brand new to the job. They're young. They're inexperienced. When the ship tilts over and starts capsizing, they don't know how to right it. They don't know how to get things back on an even keel, and the boat just goes down. You're not supposed to be one of those coaches, so you're going to be playing this flawed Jets team at home on Sunday, and I still expect I still think it's a reasonable expectation to say that, hey, Carroll, figure it out, do something, get this ship back on the right keel. I don't know, I'm not a sailor, but figure something out. Don't be like one of these coaches who doesn't know what to do when it's wartime. But Mike White changes things significantly. And my confidence in this upcoming Jets game is shaken. I'm going to stand by what I said before. It's time for Carroll to prove that he's more than just some, guy who sits on the sideline and prays that things go his way. But this changes things. The Jets now have competency at quarterback. All right, so that's the bad news. That's the really important news right now. We're trying to back into the playoffs here. We're trying to back into a winning record. And the Jets just got a good amount better. Vegas kind of paints a pretty clear picture here of how much better they probably got. And I think it's actually kind of justified. Other bit of news. Nathaniel Hackett is gone. Nathaniel Hackett is fired. Yesterday's game, giving up 51 points to the Los Angeles Rams, was just a little too much. He's gone. He becomes only apparently the fifth coach in NFL history to be fired in the middle of his first season. Obviously, Urban Meyer last year, you had Bobby Petrino, you had, I think, Lou Holtz, and you had one other guy in the 70s. Thank you, Nathaniel Hackett. This is your send-off. We couldn't have done it without you. I mean, don't get me wrong. Wilson's the main problem over there in Denver. I get that completely. I completely agree with that. Wilson is digging his own grave. He's making his own bed. But I don't think we would be here right now in the top 3 of the draft without Nathaniel Hackett's pure, unadulterated incompetence. Just an absolutely awful coach. One of the worst I've ever seen. I don't think he's worse than Urban Meyer, but he's on a short list. And I want to thank you for your service, Nathaniel Hackett. We couldn't have done it without you. Now you get to go on vacation for as long as you want to and still get paid millions of dollars by the Denver Broncos for doing nothing. So, good for him, I guess. The American dream. Now, as for the effect this could have on us, I'm interested here because the Broncos, the reason why I think they fired him now, because there are only 2 games left, the reason why they fired him, I have to believe, is because the team clearly quit on him. They had no interest in playing hard for him. Or at the very least, the only players who were interested in playing hard were so few and far between, it just didn't matter. Like, I think Wilson's still playing hard. He's playing dumb, he's playing bad, but he's playing hard. They got some other players on that team that I think are playing hard, but in general, they're not willing to give effort for him. Now they're bringing in Jerry Rosburg, who is completely underqualified to be a head coach in the NFL at any level. His only experience before this, I think, was as a special teams coordinator. That's the highest office he's held. But are they going to play hard for him? Are they going to say, okay, we got Hackett out of here. We got that loser out of here. We hated Hackett. He was terrible. He's out. Now we have this guy who we know is not going to be the head coach in 2023, but we don't hate him. We got 2 games left. Are they going to give effort? Because, next week the Broncos play the Chiefs. They're not going to win that game regardless. That game, put it in ice. But then they play the Chargers, and it could be the Chargers' backups. And that game could be of significance for the Seahawks and their draft pick. So now that Hackett's out, is the team going to give effort? Because if they had kept Hackett, I would have said, no way, no how the Broncos beat anybody this year because they quit on their coach. Now they have a new coach. Maybe they don't quit on him. We'll have to see. All right, see you guys later. Go Hawks. That's the news. Let me know what you guys think. Go Hawks.